Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, reaching you live from our global headquarters in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Ozama. Let's bring you up to speed with the big happenings in politics and in the polity. Concerned PDP stakeholders led by FCT Minister Nyesom Wike won party against micro-zoning presidential ticket in the South says failure to comply with group's resolution endangers November National Convention. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has commended Finland government for convicting Simon Ekpa over terrorism charges, assures that sponsors of terrorism will have their day with justice according to law. An administrator of Rivers State Vice Admiral Ibokete Bas retired, swears in 23 newly elected local government chairmen hours after they were issued certificate of return by RISIEC. Thanks again for joining us on the program. And it's your all-access pass to everything that has to do with politics at midday and what's playing out in the polity. But let's get started with the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, welcoming the conviction of pro-Biafra agitator Simon Ekpa by a Finnish court, assuring how sponsors of terrorism will be held accountable regardless of their location. His comments came via a statement shortly after the ruling, where he described the judgment as a landmark victory in a global campaign against terrorism and violent extremism, affirming that no individual or group sponsoring terrorism against Nigeria will find heaven. The Päijät-Häme District Court in Lahti, Finland, sentenced Ekpa to 6 years in prison for terrorism offenses. The court found Ekpa guilty of participating in terrorism. According to the prosecutor, the charge relates to his activities aimed at reestablishing an independent state in Nigeria's Biafra region. It was briefly independent in the late 1960s. Let's also tell you that in Rivers State, the Independent Electoral Commission there, that's RISEC, has presented certificate of return to 23 local government chairmen declared winners of the recently concluded local government elections at RISEC headquarters. The commission's chairman, Michael Ode, reaffirmed the body's commitment to upholding due process in the conduct of the exercise. Meanwhile, the sole administrator of Rivers State, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Bas, has sworn in the 23 newly elected chairmen, urging them to prioritize public service over personal interest.
Today is a day of renewal. It is a day when the will of the people have spoken, when the principles of democracy have prevailed, and when Rivers State takes another deliberate step out of uncertainty and back onto the firm path of constitutional order. During my inaugural speech as administrator of Rivers State, I gave an undertaking to the good people of Rivers State to deliver on my mandate to restore peace, security, order, and good governance to our dear state. I gave assurances to restore democratic governance at the grassroots, the level of government closest to our people. Today, I have fulfilled that promise. Let me, however, be clear. This victory is not a prize to be enjoyed. It is a burden to be carried. It is not an entitlement. It is a duty. It is not a call to self-interest, but to selfless service.
Well, that's the sole administrator swearing in the newly elected local government chairman in Rivers State, 23 of them. And still talking about politics, some concerned PDP stakeholders have demanded for a smooth run of the National Convention and oppose the micro-zoning of the party's presidential ticket. Other demands include the immediate conduct of Ekiti State Local Government Congress in accordance with a court judgment, as well as fresh and legitimate Southeast Zonal Congress. The stakeholders stated that the National Working Committee of the party must conduct fresh congresses in Ebonyi and Anambra State and adopt a congress held in Calabar, Cross River State, declared by the court.
Our resolutions and demands. 1. We call on the National Working Committee to urgently conduct fresh, transparent, and inclusive congresses in Ebonyi State and Anambra. 2. The Ekiti State Local Government Area Council Congress should be conducted immediately on zoning of party offices, whereas we further and very strongly hold that there should be no form of micro-zoning for peace and stability within the party. It is pertinent to caution that failure to comply with the above resolutions and demands shall render any purported national convention invalid, as legitimate members of the party would be disenfranchised.
All right, just to help you run through some of the things I said, if my producer can help me with the slide you saw earlier by some of the resolutions, if I can see those resolutions in just a moment where he listed. Yes, those are the resolutions. So they call themselves concerned PDP stakeholders, led by Nyesom Wike, the FCT minister. They said, although the PDP has zoned it to the south, the presidential ticket, no micro-zoning. That simply means keep it open to the entire south. Don't say southeast or south-south or southwest. Immediate conduct of Ekiti LGA Congress, fresh congresses in Ebonyi and Anambra. Also talked about to adopt the Calabar South-South Congress because there's a caretaker committee chaired by Emmanuel Ogidi, but there is a Congress that was held in Cross River State that brought in, they re-elected Dan Obi, so that has been a challenge as far as the party is concerned. There's a failure to comply with the resolutions that they call themselves stakeholders or concerned stakeholders will actually invalidate the National Convention because it will disenfranchise them who are legitimate members of the party. So the rocky way for the PDP still lies way ahead as far as this is concerned. Let's bring in my guest who joins us virtually from the city of Port Harcourt. Cheta Mwala is a legal practitioner, an activist, and an Pan-Africanist. Joins us virtually. Mr. Cheta, good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's get started with some of the conversations. There are so many things as far as the potpourri of this conversation is concerned. Let's talk about the first that has to do with the one you saw just before the concerned PDP stakeholders. I know you are very passionate about what plays out in Rivers State as a stakeholder yourself, as an activist, as a lawyer. What do you make? There were a lot of furore as far as this election is concerned. I mean, the local government election. There's so many legal landmines. We understand that there's even a substantive matter that will be heard later on because the ex parte that was sought wasn't granted because, of course, according to Section 8415 of the Electoral Act, as soon as these processes are in motion, the court cannot stop it. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it will be important to restrict to restrain myself a bit because, like you noted, the issues are already sub judice, issues pertaining the Rivers State local government elections.
All right, Judge. If you can just a moment, Judge. I didn't catch you there yet. So that's the voice of Judge Turner. Is chairman of PDP Caretaker Committee in Bayelsa State. But the question was actually for Chatham. I didn't know you had caught up. Chatham, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, Chatham, you go first, and I'll come to George.
Okay, thank you very much for having me once again. You know, during the elections or the build up to the election, some of us have raised up concern over the necessity of having this particular election at this point in time in the life of our state. Because when you look at Rivers State today, you ask yourself questions as to whether it was necessary to go ahead with the local government elections, whether the local government elections was actually part of the peace process we had envisaged from the declaration made by Mr. President. Recall that some of us had also raised up issues as to the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State and said that it is actually premature and it was not necessary for the declaration. However, the big question is the local government issue was actually part of the issues that that led the president into a declaration of a state of emergency. We have raised up serious concerns about this. But of course, we now live in a present society where nobody listens to your voice. Whatever you say, it is what is in the minds of these politicians that they actually carry out. Mr. President, alongside his the sole administrator, of course, with the FCT minister, of course, what they are bound and focused on is 2027 elections, and anything that will support that 2027 their bid for 2027, re-election for 2027, that's what they're caught up to do. And there's nothing anybody says, whether it is against the spirit of the Constitution or against the interest of the general population, they are quite not interested in it. And it's a sad situation. What we saw in Rivers State on Saturday was a total sham of an election. Of course, we saw a situation where the FCT minister sat at the comfort of his home, decided who becomes what in which local government, alongside some of his stakeholders within the local government. He has always said that the whole thing is about the structure of Rivers State. And today, the president had handed the structure of Rivers State into his hands. And exactly, and we're asking ourselves now, what is the way forward? What we saw in Rivers State on Saturday was a shame of democracy. This is not what democracy should look like. This is not what democracy is all about. If the big question I ask myself, if we had claimed that in the last presidential election in 2023, we had the total number of votes cast for that presidential election was not up to 1 million, but we had a situation where the number of votes for winners of the elections ran into about 2-something million in the local government election that we saw. One of the elections that we have experienced voter apathy. And you ask us, where are these votes coming from? Where did you manufacture these votes from? And it tells you the type of situation we have found ourselves and the type of society we have also found ourselves. That nobody is willing to do what is right and what is proper in the circumstance. We now do what is comfortable and what is the best interest of these politicians. And sadly, we have our courts today. A lot of persons have gone to court, raised up concerns over this particular issue, both pre-election and I also believe there will be post-election matters. However, the challenge is, are the courts willing to do justice to the matters before it? The silence of the court over the issues bedeviling in Rivers State is giving a lot of us serious concerns. I can tell you for free, PDP governors have gone to the Supreme Court months ago, and up till now, the Supreme Court has not said anything. For such matter of national importance, the Supreme Court has been quiet. And we ask ourselves, why is the Supreme Court quiet over these issues? Why is the Supreme Court not attending to a matter of national importance? It just simply means that it has given the president the go-ahead that you can wake up in the morning, declare a state of emergency in any state of your choice, and that is it. And nobody will question it. That is the situation we have found ourselves. So for me, even as a lawyer, I am even worried about our courts doing justice to the situation. Because when you start delaying justice, you deny the people the justice they are supposed to get. Because I don't understand why, for matters of national importance, we have the judiciary delaying the processes knowingly. Because you can't tell me, you can't give us any reason why this whole situation it's been delayed up to this particular time. But I can give you for a fact that when the issues of the October 4th elections that happened last year went to courts, it ran from the Federal High Court down to the Court of Appeal and down to the Supreme Court in less than a year. In less than a year, we got a judgment from Federal High Court, we got a judgment from the Court of Appeal, we got a judgment from the Supreme Court.
All right, Chetan, let me take it to Mr. Turner.
These matters at this point.
All right. Let me take you to Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner, thanks for joining us. I know that literally picked you up from, I'm sure you're catching us from the airport. But Chatham has raised some points, which is a concern to everyone. You know, for those of you who are politicians, you're interested in winning. You know, the losers will cry, the winners will celebrate. No matter how it goes, as long as you win, it's all fine and good. But for journalists and civil society and every other person, we're interested in process and the rule of law. Chatham has raised a very serious, important question, which I would like you to speak to, because we're going to segue from that into what played out last night. And the question of the Supreme Court not sitting on issues as important as determining or not whether the president acted ultra vires out of his powers, this discretionary latitude to suspend elected government, like the governor of a state and the state assembly. That's on one hand. And what has actually played out in Rivers State. I call it the miracle of Obiakpo, where the president got slightly over 200,000 votes to win as APC in Rivers State. The governor of the state won about 300,000 votes to win. In Obiakpo, in fact, the governor got less than 50,000 votes. But in local government election, the chairman got over 320,000 votes. What do you make of all of this and the state of our polity, Mr. Turner?
Thank you very much.
Please go ahead, Mr. Turner.
First of all, I think it's important to understand that, local government is one of the most important tier of government because it is the closest to the people. And by that understanding, the interest and enthusiasm will definitely be more in terms of participation because it deals with the very grassroots. You know, it goes up to family, inter-family election. And so it is not surprising that the numbers are there compared to other elections. Of course, more persons will definitely turn up. Now, the validity of that election is already subject of litigation and sub judice. But let me just say that state of emergency is part of our democratic process. It is constitutional and it is allowed in our constitution. I think the constitution allows it. And I mean, the state of emergency is declared. It is normal. And people should stop attaching emotions, you know, to such issues. The president made a proclamation. Before the presidential proclamation on the state of emergency in Rivers State, we have had a decision of the Supreme Court, which clearly stated that there is absence of government in Rivers State. Absence of government in Rivers State. Now, that means that there's not even governance at all. And so the president came in because there was uncertainty. The president came in, took his measure. Two persons do not like it for protocol.
Okay.
Hello?
Go ahead. For a moment, we're not hearing you, so I was trying to catch up.
Yeah, so in as much as some persons may not appreciate or the fact that there's an emergency rule, it does not invalidate or make unlawful or illegal the emergency rule itself. And one thing people don't understand is in emergency rule, the president actually assumes the executive powers of the state concerned. So the issue of an administrator conducting local government elections is neither here nor there. It is the president. And then the National Assembly steps in as the legislative body, you know, make laws.
All right,
state.
Mr. Turner. So let me take you to Mr. Chatham. In fact, let me stay with you, and then I'll take you to Mr. Chatham, so that we don't mix up the issue and educate our audience. We're very clear. I was clear on my question. The president has powers, according to Section 305, to declare a state of emergency. They have, you know, clear measures on which he has to meet to say the state of emergency. What is debatable is whether he has powers to remove elected officials, whether he acted ultra vires, which is why the question about why the Supreme Court is not sitting on such important issue so that once and for all this debate is brought to rest. So I wanted to be clear on that particular issue. So it's not about emotion, it's about what is in the law. 4 ways a governor can be removed: impeachment, death, his tenure ends, or he resigns. Those are expressed in the Constitution. But that's a court to decide. It's left to the court. But let's come to the issues that played out yesterday. So help us understand what you're a big supporter of Nyesom Wike, who leads the concerned PDP stakeholders. If you can answer in 2 minutes, so that I can also segue to ask Mr. Cheta. The man that Nyesom Wike has been very clear that he's going to support the president, but he's still giving condition for the PDP. Help us understand that. In fact, this election that I held is his cronies, literally, his guys that are all over, whether it's PDP or APCs, they are his guys. And the PDP had only 3 seats, and the APC had, I think, 20 of the seats. So clearly, I sent a message to the leadership of the country, the president, and said, look, I've got your back. So how is somebody who is clearly working for the president and the APC by extension putting up a condition that must be met by the PDP, who is an opposition party? Help us understand what you guys are doing.
Well, His Excellency, the FCT Minister, remains a member of the PDP, not just a member, a leader of the PDP. He has never hidden that fact. And you also recall that in the just concluded elections in Rivers State, the PDP won in its local government. So I think we should give Chief Wike the benefit of the doubt. He said he's a member of the PDP. And don't forget, before he accepted the nomination to work in the administration of President Tinubu, he wrote to seek permission from the PDP. And permissions were granted from the state to the zone to the national level. He has said so. Nobody has come out to say otherwise. And up till this day, PDP have not asked him to leave that assignment. The PDP have not done so. So it is only normal that Wike is allowed to do his job. It's on a national assignment. But insofar party politics is concerned, he has maintained that he remains a member of the PDP, and nobody can fault him or that to show that he has said otherwise or he has acted otherwise. The man won an election in his local government. In the just concluded election, PDP won in Obiako.
Mr. Turner, I'll come to you in just a moment, but you haven't answered my question. It's clearly a double dating situation. You're working for the APC and giving condition to the PDP. That's my simple question. What are you guys really doing? It's as clear as crystal. I don't think it's a complicated question. Mr. Cheta, what do you make of the politics that is being played out by the people, the concerned PDP stakeholders, as far as this politics is concerned?
Try to avoid is to delve into politics because I'm not a politician and I've maintained that particular fact. But I must state clearly that what is happening in Nigeria today, the PDP as a political party is as weak as a tissue paper. I will tell you for free that it is not an opposition political party because certain persons within the PDP, led by the Minister of the FCT, has decided to destroy the PDP today and make sure that the PDP becomes weak in 2027. And I can tell you for free, they are basically achieving that particular aim. That's why you see today they come up with the issue of secretary, tomorrow they come up with the issue of zoning, they come up with various issues and all that. The whole intention is to destabilize the party and to make sure that the party does not have the force it's supposed to have to stand against President Tinubu in 2027. Let me say this. We have seen defection of governors. We don't know the reasons why that tsunami of defection that recently happened, especially from the South, where governors left the PDP and moved over to the APC, basically championed by the FCT minister. And we see the same person parade himself, weaken the party both in the states and even at the federal level. In different states, he has weakened PDP, but he still comes out and boldly says, I'm a member of the PDP. He has introduced these anti-party activities. And PDP, as weak as PDP is, PDP cannot suspend him. PDP cannot even expel him from the party. it tells you that the leadership of PDP, I don't know whether they have been bribed or whatever, what has been the situation, what has led them into doing what they have done. But I must tell you for free that the leaders of PDP today have killed PDP, and PDP as it is as dead as a tissue paper and cannot have any weight.
My apologies. For our DSTV audience, I'll come to you, Mr. George, just before we close. So we'll now switch gears to Abuja for the flag off of the construction of the magistrate court in Jabi district by the FCT minister. That's happening in Abuja. That will be carried on our DSTV platform while the program continues on other platforms. Let's come to you, Mr. George. Mr. George, in closing, your last thought on this, as far as this is concerned. This is clearly you people being in PDP and working against the APC. So why don't you just pack your bag and leave the PDP and let them be clear what they are doing? What exactly?
Job, that's not correct.
What is...
You see, I would have expected my brother there to point out one issue that the minister Wike has put on the table that is not a valid issue. Is it the issue of Anyanwu as national secretary after the Supreme Court have made a clear judgment, or is it the issue in the southeast where the ward in Ebonyi have expelled Honorable Ale Odafe and a court of competent jurisdiction have affirmed that expulsion? Which of the issue that Minister Wike have raised that is not valid? Or is it the issue of zoning the presidency to the south? President Muhammadu Buhari haven't served out 8 years.
We're totally out of time. Yeah, Mr. George. Mr. George, apologies. Since you're the politician, that's why I want to leave Mr. Chita out.
Basically, nobody can fault Minister
Mr. George, if I can interject so that I can ask my last question in 30 seconds if you can respond. We're not debating. First, it was Anyanwu. Anyanwu was sorted. The next one was zoning to the south. It's been sorted. Now, no micro-zoning. Yet, the question is clear. Don't complicate it. And I've asked all of you this question, and none of you is able to answer. You are clearly working, you're going to clearly work against the PDP in 2027. So what are you doing in the PDP?
No, that is not correct. 2027 has a lot of elections. You have governorship elections.
No. The presidential election. The presidential election is what I'm focused on. It says
but let us get there with us. As PDP has their own candidate. What we have consistently said is that we are for Southern presidency, for the South to complete its term, its 2 term or 4 years. And the person there now is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And so we are let the PDP come up with their own candidate. And then we see. We are for Southern presidency.
Okay. Totally, you have answered as a politician. No problem. I'm used to these answers. But we'll continue to dig deep until you guys give us the answers that is on your mind. George Turner, Bayelsa PDP CTC chairman, as well as legal practitioner Chetan Wala, who is also an activist. Chetan, I'm sorry for dragging you to politics, but you're an activist, so you can activate everywhere. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
And that's it on the program. Thank you for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. You've been served on Lunchtime Politics. Bye-bye.